Welcome to the interview. I'm Dan Hollander, and today we're talking with Lawrence County Director of Schools, Johnny McDaniel. Good to see you again.
Dan, it's good to have you here in the office this morning.
I tell you what, I know you got a lot of things going. We'll try to cover as many as we can. First of all, a bad thing, but I know you want to let folks know what's going on. Threats to Lawrence County schools. Is this something new, or is it gone on before? Or?
Dan, through the years, school systems have always had to respond to what used to be a lot of prank calls. Students, our former students, community people making calls in threatening a school. These days, we really have to take any threat very seriously. People see all kind of attacks across the world, and right here at home, we see terrorist attacks, and we see even students coming in and doing things that we just never thought possible in some locations. And while it hasn't visited here at home, we have to take any threat very seriously. We have really worked on having a good response to any threat to our children. We want to provide a safe, secure environment. We've worked hard to try to provide safe, secure entryways into our school and to provide a perimeter of security around the schools the best we can, locking doors, changing procedures so that when a threat occurs, we can respond appropriately. Our first goal is to keep our children safe.
Right.
As we started school this year, it was actually the second full day of school. A threat was phoned in to Loretta High School, and it was then immediately given over to the SRO, who contacted his superiors, and we felt the threat was of such substance that we should do a lockdown. We decided that we would do a kind of a run through for all the schools. What probably wasn't necessary to lock down all the schools, but at the time, law enforcement recommended it would be a good time to do a drill at the other schools. So we went on lockdown across the system. We got a lot of good feedback of how we can do that better as far as our communication with our walkie-talkies. We had some spots that we needed to improve. The kind of language we used, that was a way for us to test all of that. And the threat was, at the time, a real threat that had been called into Loretta. A second call came, which put us even more alert, on a higher stage of alert, and we just had to stay on lockdown, particularly in the South County, for pretty much the rest of the school day. Law enforcement responded wonderfully. City of Loretta, they provided police support down there. City of Lawrenceburg, they dispatched 2 officers to every campus we have here in the city, just to make sure that the campuses were safe, in part as a drill, but in part because we had this threat down in Loretta.
Yeah. It's just strange somebody would do that, or anybody.
Well, I won't speak specifically.
Right.
The perpetrator was apprehended. We were able to ping his cell phone. We had records that came into the school. We provided those to law enforcement, and they were able to locate the cell phone in a pretty short amount of time. The sheriff told me they were within 300 feet of him. He had gone into the woods. It took a few hours to actually catch him. He was caught during the night. The next morning, law enforcement called me and said he had been apprehended and that he was being charged. They were taking it serious. The DA was taking it serious, and he was charged with a felony count. And the individual had been in some trouble before, sadly. I don't know his beef. I don't know his intent. It doesn't matter. He called in a threat. He's in big trouble.
Right. Parents can get involved in this, can't they? If, for example, if they drive up to a school and see something that's different that they haven't seen before, or something like that.
Then one of the ways we really combat any kind of a terrible event in a school is to have our students, teachers, and parents aware of what's going on, listening to our children. A lot of times the folks who have done these kinds of things in schools across the nation, a lot of times they've talked about it. And if people will bring that information forward, we can prevent a very tragic event if we're listening. Mm-hmm. Parents need to listen to their children and the friends of their children, and if they do see something strange going on around campus, we need to be made aware of that so that we can respond appropriately. But I think that yes, parents, community members, when we see something that's unusual in our neighborhood, if we see someone trying to get into our neighbor's house, we ought to make a call. Same thing with our schools. We want to keep our schools safe.
Right. Well, let's change course a little bit.
Yes, sir.
And speaking of courses, got some new ones this year that haven't been here before. And
Well, one of the things we're doing this year that I think is very exciting is that at the high schools, all 3 high schools, we're doing what we're calling a skinny block. It's an opportunity for us to allow students to take an elective that they are just interested in because they might have a career interest in the area. We are offering a lot of different courses that we've never offered before. We're doing it in part for the state's response to what is called RTI, Response to Intervention. Students who are behind in reading or math, significantly behind, the state has asked us to have in place a time that we provide remediation. So we're doing that during this skinny block. We're doing RTI, Response to Intervention, remediation, but we're also providing enhancement for all other students. And the students who talk to me very interested in that. For an example, some of them are taking cooking classes. Got some boys. I was at Loretta yesterday. They talked to me about enjoying the cooking class. That's just one that I thought was a little unusual because it's just a short block of time just for the semester, and then they'll change for second semester, and it's just an exploratory opportunity for them doing yoga, doing I think one of them has a hiking class. They're going to do some hiking and learning how to prepare a backpack for hiking, that kind of thing. So students seem to be pretty excited about that this year.
Good. Are there some old courses that have been around for years that are leaving?
If you'll remember, going back to Governor Bredesen's administration, we changed the standards for high school graduation. We went from a more lax system to a more rigorous system called the American Diploma Project, and in Tennessee we said the Tennessee Diploma Project. As Governor Haslam came in, there was a move toward higher standards across the nation, and today we have what is called 10 core higher standards, more rigorous, and the state continues to increase the rigor needed to graduate from high school. So some of the old courses that folks took, like a low-level math, they're no longer at the high school. The lowest level math we offer is algebra, and students have to take 4 years of math, so that means algebra 1 or higher. And that's been a big change that we've seen in schools over the last several years. The state is trying to modernize a lot of the career technical programs, and some of the programs that we offered as, let's say, just masonry, they've changed to more of an engineering code. So we're having to make some adjustments there. We brought in Project Lead the Way, which is an advanced engineering program. We've got some courses that we're offering at the high schools in Project Lead the Way, where students are actively involved in engineering projects as they're learning to apply mathematics and physics to the real world. So I'm pretty excited about those classes.
Yeah. Has it become difficult for some parents to help their children with homework? I would imagine it has.
Then I think some courses have always been a challenge. I used to work in the credit lab after school down in South Florida, and when I would have students coming back to retake Algebra 2, I always had to crack the book a little bit myself to be able to do some tutoring. I wasn't a math teacher. I'm a social studies teacher by my academic background, but if you're working in the credit lab, if they need help in Algebra 2, you have to help them. So I'd have to go back to the book and learn. And I think that's been the case even for my parents when they used to help me. Dad, smart in math, but he'd have to sharpen his pencil a little bit. I think we still have that. Some of the approaches to math has changed a little bit with the 10 core curriculum, because there are several different ways that you can come up with the same solution, and we are allowing students, are teaching them to critically think about a problem, and they may go a different pathway. A lot of us learn just one way, the way that our teacher saw it. That's what we learned, and that's what we were taught to do. And there's many times are multiple pathways to get to the right answer. Today we're really encouraging that critical, creative thinking for them to get to the right answer. We still want them to end up with the right answer. And sometimes that's a little hard for a parent because they may not have heard the instruction the student has heard, and the student's trying to explain that to the parent. That could be a little confusing. I understand that.
How about the change from elementary to middle school? Is that a difficult time for youngsters and parents?
Well, Dan, if you'll just think about it, I think that time when students go through the change of puberty and they're becoming, not just a child and a young adolescent, Those years are awkward and difficult for children and for families. The middle school model has been around here in the United States for a long time, and here in Lawrenceburg, the board had voted to move to a middle school model as we get to build some new buildings here in the county, and one of them would be a new middle school here for Lawrenceburg. We decided to go ahead and start making steps toward that, where we moved the 6th grade. Middle school is 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, where if you'll remember maybe when you were in school, we had junior high, which was 7th, 8th, and a lot of times 9th grade, and then you went to the senior high school at 10th grade. Those kind of groupings of students are there because we really struggle with what's the appropriate time to move them up to the next level. And the middle school model is really the most prevalent model used in the United States in our public school systems, where we go pre-K through 5th grade at an elementary, then 6, 7, 8 at a middle school, and then 9, 10, 11, 12 at the high school.
Yeah.
And that is the model that we are moving to in Lawrence County. This year we moved all the 6th grade from Ingram South to Kaufman Middle School. And we brought the 6th grade for the first time to Kaufman. And we also opened that up to all of our feeder schools. Davy Crockett, those 6th graders could go there electively. Lawrenceburg Public, they could go there electively. Etheridge, a New Prospect, if they had 6th graders that wanted to go, they could move up there. And we had about 100 and a little over 100, 120 students that moved from those schools to Kaufman to start the 6th grade middle school this year.
So there's a few problems here and there, but overall pretty good.
Overall, I think the middle school model really allows for students to be treated not like elementary students, but more on the secondary level, where they're starting to take some responsibility and have opportunities to take different classes with different teachers. We don't ask them to walk in single file lines as a group. We ring the bell and they move to their next class, more like the high school model. I think it's a good opportunity for those middle school students to start exploring their career interest and taking elective classes that will help them understand the world as it works in a bigger way.
Right. What do you think education is going to look like a few years from now? Going to be similar to what we have, or it's going to be totally different? And I know it's just a guess.
Dan, we live in the technology information age, and things change so fast. If you'll think about today, if you go down on the square, you will probably see people walking around holding a cell phone or a tablet catching Pokemon. Now, I'm not even sure what all that is. I know it's a game and they're having fun and they're kind of all over the square. Didn't see that last year, but today, in just a short period of time, you're seeing kind of a change of how people have fun. That technology change really impacts education, and we really have to respond. And Toffler was one of those writers, sociologists, who wrote some books in the 70s that talked about, we've gone through different waves. He called it the third wave. The first was agrarian, where we were agrarian people. Then we became industrial people, and that's how we made our living through industry and mass manufacturing. He said the third wave would be the information age. Well, we entered that some years ago, and we're into it more so than some of us could have ever dreamed. I remember seeing the computer of a bank when I was in 8th grade. It filled up the bottom of the bank. And that same computer today, my phone has probably 10 times the computing capacity that system had that filled up the bottom of a bank. That has all changed. And as technology changes, Toffler said that the illiterate of the 21st century won't be those who can't read or write. It will be those who can't learn, unlearn, and relearn. And what he's talking about is how that change happens fast. So in education, we're going to have to respond. I think you will see more and more curriculum provided online. We're really at a place now that we're looking at not buying books. We have bought Chromebooks here in Lawrence County, and a lot of our curriculum and the reading we want our students to do will be on the Chromebook, not in a book, a heavy backpack full of books. Those books are now electronic and can be provided on that device. That's a change. Connecting the classrooms across distance. I think you'll see more and more of that, where you can have a master teacher teaching and that curriculum being provided through distance learning. That's what we used to call it. Today, through technology. I think you'll see more and more of that. I really do.
What about the progress you've seen since you became director of schools here?
Well,
Chance to brag. So.
Well, I really do enjoy getting out to see the wonderful things that our principals and teachers are doing in our schools. We really have great schools in Lawrence County. The people here in Lawrence County, I think, are proud of their schools, and they should be proud. Our scores are strong. We've had some of the strongest scores on the TCAP in this part of Tennessee, and that's something to be proud of. We've really been preparing our students, and they've been progressing the way that we would want them to progress. We have work to do. We want to improve our ACT scores. We want to improve the kind of offerings we provide students for post-secondary while they're still in school. We want to offer more industry certification while they're going through their career technical programs. When they come out, I want them to have a high school diploma and something else that's going to indicate that they're college career ready. We're working on those things. But in Lawrence County, we have great schools. The kids, they look at me, they seem happy, they shake my hand and look me in the eye. You know, that says a lot about the culture of a place. When you go in and you get a sense that they're moving forward, they're happy, they feel good, they enjoy being part of the community of that school, and those are the good things that I see here in Lawrence County.
Good. Appreciate the visit. Best of luck to you and the school system.
Dan, it's my joy. I really love being here in Lawrence County. I've loved meeting the people. I've loved being out around the community, and I look forward to many years to come.
Good. That's the interview for today. Thanks for watching. I'm Dan Hollander.